Hello, welcome. If these stories speak to you, if you find comfort in the lessons found in the quiet corners of history, please check that you are following. It helps more than you know, helping new viewers find us, and helping me to make better videos for you all. Let me know in the comments where you're listening, what time it is there, and let's journey into a life you haven't lived yet. You are holding on to a boat the size of a bathtub in the middle of the largest ocean on Earth, and the things that did this to you are still in the water. A pod of killer whales has just punched 3 holes in your family's boat, and they watched the sea swallow it whole. This is one of the only times in recorded history that the ocean's greatest hunters have attacked humans, and the nearest land is 200 miles away. It is the 15th of June, 1972. The morning is grey and choppy, and you are exactly where you have dreamed of being for 2 years. Nowhere. Open Pacific in every direction. 2 days west of the Galapagos, 1,000 miles from the nearest shipping lane, with the whole bright emptiness of the sea to yourself and your family. You are below deck when it happens. 3 blows. Not waves, blows. 3 enormous sledgehammer strikes against the hull, so hard the whole boat lurches sideways and the timbers scream. For one strange second, no one understands. Up on deck, your 12-year-old Sandy is at the helm, and his first thought isn't that you're sinking. His first thought is, "Oh no, I've hit something and Dad is going to kill me." A boy bracing for your temper instead of for death, because death has not yet occurred to him. But you are a seaman. You have spent half your life on the water, and your body knows the sound of a wooden hull breaking before your mind can argue with it. You hear the splintering, that long, wet crack of 50-year-old planking giving way, and you feel the cold come in around your feet, and you know in less than a heartbeat, she's gone. Water is pouring through the planking in the aft cabin, through the head, faster than anything you have ever seen. Not a leak, a flood. The sea is climbing the inside of your home, like it has somewhere to be. You shout the 2 words no sailor ever wants to say: abandon ship. And your son Douglas, 18, strong, forever ready to argue with you, actually argues with you now, in the last seconds of the boat's life. Abandon ship. We're not in a marina. We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. As if the sea might be reasoned with. As if there were another option. There isn't. There's a minute, maybe less. You get the life raft over the side, and you yank the cord and it blooms into the water, fat and yellow and absurd. You keep your grip on the little fiberglass dinghy you've been towing, 9 feet of nothing, a child's boat, because some animal part of you will not let go of it. Your wife, Lynn, goes into the water, and her nightdress snags on the wreckage, and the sea tries to drag her under, and she has to tear herself free beneath the surface and come up gasping. Sandy goes over the side, clutching a string bag of red onions, because in the chaos, his mother pressed it into his arms, and a frightened boy does what his mother says. And then you are all in the water, and the raft, 6 of you, and you turn and watch. Lucette, 43 feet of oak and memory. Your home for a year and a half. Everything you own, everything you sold a farm to buy. Lifts her stern and slides down into the blue and is gone. 60 seconds. The masts go last, sliding under like a hand pulled beneath the surface. And the whales are still there. You can see them, dark and enormous, circling, unhurried. And here is the thing you will never forget. The thing you will say years later when people ask, in that moment, drowning was not your greatest fear. Your greatest fear was being eaten of the whole catalogue of horrors the sea keeps. You have just met one of the oldest. The water settles. The whales lose interest. The ocean goes flat and grey and indifferent, as if nothing happened at all. And you are left holding a rope in a rubber raft, towing a dinghy meant for a pond, with your wife and 4 boys and a single kitchen knife. 200 miles from a shore you cannot reach. So, out here, this far from anyone, do you get your family home? But the sea did not begin your story here. To understand how you came to be holding this rope, you have to go back to dry land, to a cold farm on a Staffordshire hill, and a debt you were trying to repay, and a question a small boy asked you one ordinary evening that changed every life in this raft. If these stories speak to you, if you find comfort in the lessons found in the quiet corners of history, tap the follow button to join our circle of dreamers and let the next story find you when you need it most. Welcome, Nightlings. This is Huxley. If you like listening or falling asleep to real stories that will reveal life's deeper truths, then this is the place for you. Consider subscribing and let the next story find you when you need it most. Now, find your softest pillow. Find the warm edge of the blanket. Let your shoulders drop, and let's begin. You are Dougal Robertson, and before you are a castaway, you are tired. It's the late 1960s, and you farm a hard patch of dairy land at Merebrook, near Leek, in Staffordshire. Cold mornings, thin margins, cows that don't care what your dreams are. You're a Scot, born in 1924. The youngest of 8, raised with not much and taught to make it stretch. You are not a soft man. People will tell you that for the rest of your life, and they won't be wrong. But the sea was your first life, long before the farm. You trained at the Nautical College in Leith, and you went away to sea as an officer in the Merchant Navy, and you learned the things that don't leave a man. How to read a sky, how to run a watch, how to find your place on the blank face of the ocean with nothing but a sextant, and the patience to wait for a star. You were good at it. You rose, and then the war took from you the way it took from everyone, only worse. In 1942, your first wife, Jessie, and your little boy, Duncan, were killed when their ship was bombed at Trincomalee. The sea and the war, together in a single afternoon. You don't talk about it. You came ashore and you turned yourself into a farmer, and you married again, a nurse named Lynn. And you built a second family on solid, unmoving ground, as far from the water as a man can get. Some things a person carries without ever setting down. You don't mention it to the children, but it's in you, the way salt is in the sea. Lynn is the quiet center of everything. She was born Linda Poyser, one of 9, a Staffordshire farm girl who became a nurse and then a midwife, and not just a village nurse, but one who trained abroad, who you met, of all places, while she was working in Hong Kong. She has a calm that doesn't crack and a faith that doesn't waver. And between your hard will and her steady warmth, the two of you have raised 4 children on very little. And that's the rub, isn't it? The very little, because the lean years have been lean. You've watched your kids go to school in shoes that didn't fit. You've seen the dinner table emptier than a father wants to admit. There were holidays the other families took that yours never could. You've given them grit and fresh air, and the smell of the byre at dawn. But you haven't given them the world, and somewhere in you there's a debt you mean to pay before they're grown and gone. Then, one evening, the radio and the newspapers are full of a man named Robin Knox Johnston, who has just become the first human being to sail alone without stopping all the way around the world. And your youngest, Neil, one of the twins, a small boy with a big idea, looks up at you and says the sentence that ends one life and begins another. Daddy's a sailor. Why don't we sail around the world too? Now, a sensible man laughs and ruffles the boy's hair and goes back to the farm accounts. You are not, it turns out, that sensible, because the moment he says it, something old and salt water shaped turns over in your chest, and you don't laugh at all. You think, why not? And once you've thought it, you can't unthink it. You build the whole thing into a philosophy, the way you build everything. Reasoned through, then committed to. Totally, maybe too totally. You decide the voyage will be an education. Your children are practical and clever, but thin on schooling. And you come to believe, with the certainty of a man who has found his excuse, that the fastest way to truly teach them is to take them out into the world and let them see it. Let them watch how other people in other countries actually live. You'll call it, only half joking, the University of Life. You'll say it plainly years later, in your blunt way. We thought we'd buy a schooner and take them around the world and show them how other populations lived. It is partly a gift. It is partly an apology for the hard years. And it is partly something more stubborn and harder to name. A man reaching back toward the one life that was his before grief and farming closed over it. So, in 1970, you do the thing that careful people will call madness for the rest of your days. You sell the farm. Not mortgage it, sell it. You take nearly everything you have ever saved, every pound, and you decide to pour it into a boat. There is no safety net. There is no fallback. A family of farmers, most of whom have barely sailed, is going to cross oceans. You feel, for the first time in years, entirely alive. You only know the boy's question and your own answer. and the bright, reckless feeling of a door swinging open. You go looking for a boat. You find her in Malta in the summer of 1970, and you fall a little in love. Her name is Lucette. She is a wooden schooner, 43 feet long, 19 tons of oak and brass and character, 2 masts raked back like she means it. And she was built in 1922, which makes her, when you find her, about 50 years old. An old lady, beautiful and proud and, if you're honest with yourself, a great deal of maintenance waiting to happen. But you don't want honest. You want her. You hand over your life savings, and just like that, a Staffordshire dairy farmer owns an ocean-going schooner. And the strangeness of it doesn't frighten you nearly as much as it should. You sail her up to Falmouth on the Cornish coast, arriving in the autumn of 1970, and there you spend the winter getting ready, provisioning, patching, learning her moods. You take aboard a small fiberglass dinghy as a tender, a humble 9-foot thing, and you name her Edna Mare, after Lynn's sisters, Edna and Mary. She is the least impressive object on the whole boat. 9 feet of nothing, a child's boat tied on behind, and here is a decision that tells you everything about the kind of man you are. You don't do a shakedown cruise, no practice runs, no gentle coastal seasons to learn the ropes as a family first. Your theory, and you state it like scripture, is that training is best done on the job. You will learn the sea by being on it. Your son Douglas will call this, much later and much more bluntly, short-sightedness. He may have a point, but you are not a man who eases into water. You dive. On the 27th of January 1971, you cast off from Falmouth, and England slides away behind you into the grey, and your real life begins. The first weeks are a comedy and a trial. 6 people, well, 5 of you plus whatever the boat can hold, crammed into a pitching wooden box, learning everything at once. There is seasickness, the great equalizer, which doesn't care that you're the captain. There is the galley, where Lynn turns a cramped, lurching corner into a kitchen by sheer refusal to be defeated. There are watches to stand around the clock, your old merchant navy discipline shaping the day and night into shifts. And there are the children's lessons, because the University of Life still includes actual lessons. Navigation at the chart table, fish to identify, knots to tie, the twins schooled between swells. And there is the simple, eternal, slightly absurd problem of putting that many people and that many opinions into a space with exactly one toilet. The sea may be vast, the boat is not. But you find your rhythm. Down to Lisbon, 11 days of it, then on to the Canaries, then the long, warm reach across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. And oh, the Caribbean is everything the brochure in your head promised. The trade winds actually deliver. You fish off the stern. The boys swim in water so clear it doesn't look real. You meet other people doing the same gloriously foolish thing you're doing. Wanderers, dreamers, the like-minded. And for a while, the whole insane gamble simply works. You watch your children turn brown and strong and capable, and you think, this is what I sold the farm for. The money, of course, runs thin because the money always runs thin. So you stop in Miami and you stay a while, about 6 months, and you work, refilling the cruising kitty dollar by dollar. It's not a detour. It's how a shoestring dream stays afloat. And while you're there, 2 things happen that matter more than you can know. You take on an inflatable life raft, passed along almost as an afterthought. And the family that left England as 6 becomes quietly 5. Because Anne, your eldest, your spirited daughter, old enough now to want a life with her own name on it, falls in love and steps off the voyage to follow it. She leaves you somewhere in that bright stretch of islands and coast, and the sources of the story would later disagree on exactly where, but you don't need a source. You're her father. You watch her go with the particular ache of a man who knows she's right to, and you sail on without her. The crew is smaller now. There is an empty bunk. And then there's Douglas, your eldest son, 18, strong as a young ox, and so much like you that the 2 of you strike sparks. You argue. Sometimes the arguments get physical. 2 stubborn men, 1 small boat, no exit. He chafes against your command, and you tighten it, and Lynn stands in the middle, the quiet center, absorbing the heat off both of you. It is the oldest story in the world. A father who has buried 1 son, holding too hard to the ones he has left, and a son who only wants room to become himself. You don't have the words for it. You have the watches, and the work, and the long days of needing each other, whether you like it or not. Onward then. Out of Miami in January of 1972, down past Jamaica, toward the narrow stone throat of the world where the Atlantic and the Pacific almost touch, toward Panama, toward a stranger standing on the dock who is about to ask you for a ride. Panama is where the 2 great oceans almost touch, and where a stranger joins your family. You reach Colón, on the Caribbean side, in the late spring of 1972, and while you're there, working on the dinghy, getting the boat ready for the longest leg of all, a young man asks if he can come along. His name is Robin Williams. No, not that one. He's 22, a Welsh university graduate, a hitchhiker working his way around the world the cheap way, the way the young do, by being useful and likable, and willing to be seasick for free. He's no sailor. He'll learn, the same way your whole family learned, by being thrown into it. And so you say yes, and now you are 6. It changes something, taking him on, though you might not put words to it. Your children are your own. Their risks are the risks you chose for them. But Robin belongs to some other mother, somewhere, who waved her boy off on an adventure and trusts the sea to give him back. He sits at your table now. He's yours to keep alive. You take Lucette through the Panama Canal, that strange, miraculous staircase of water that lifts a wooden schooner up over a continent and sets her down on the far side. And then the gates open, and there it is, the Pacific, The biggest single thing on the face of the planet. More water than all the land in the world put together. You point the bow west and you sail out into it. First stop, the Galapagos. And the Galapagos is like sailing off the edge of the ordinary world. Black volcanic rock and impossible creatures. Giant tortoises older than your grandfather. Iguanas that swim. Birds with feet the blue of a summer sky. Animals that have never learned to fear a human being, because no human being ever taught them to. The boys are wild with it. You spend the better part of 3 weeks there, island hopping, walking the strange beaches, letting your children stand in the middle of one of the great living wonders of the earth. The University of Life, holding its finest lecture. This, you let yourself feel it. This is the trip working. This is the thing you sold the farm for. You've brought your family to the literal edge of the map and shown them marvels, and it has cost you everything and been worth it. And then it's time for the open sea. Ahead of you lies the loneliest stretch of the whole voyage. The crossing to the Marquesas Islands. Somewhere around 2,000 miles of nothing but water. No islands to duck into. No coast to crawl along. Just the trade winds and the swell and the enormous patient blue for weeks. You provision the boat. You fill the water. You take one last look at land. On the 13th of June, you clear Cape Espinosa on Fernandina Island, and you turn Lucette's bow toward the Marquesas, and the Galapagos sinks away behind you into the haze. And the feeling for everyone aboard is good. You're a real crew now, a year and a half at sea, seasoned and brown and competent. The hardest part of a voyage like this is supposed to be the storms, the gear failures, the slow grind of distance. You've planned for all of it. Those first 2 nights out are the finest sailing of the whole voyage. The Pacific opens around you, enormous and gentle, and after dark the stars come down so thick and so close you could almost believe you could reach up and gather them. You stand your watch with the tiller warm under your hand and the sails drawing softly and your family asleep below. And you feel something you haven't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, but rightness. The deep, quiet sense of a man precisely where he is meant to be. You did a reckless, beautiful thing selling that farm, and it worked. And your children are sleeping safe on the back of the deepest ocean on earth under a sky on fire with stars. You let yourself be proud of it. You have earned the right. 2 days out, the morning of the 15th dawns grey and choppy. An ordinary morning. There's coffee. There's the watch to keep. Your 12-year-old, Sandy, takes the helm. A boy steering a schooner across the Pacific Ocean like it's the most normal thing in the world, because for him, now, it is. You go below. The sea is 2.5 miles deep beneath you, and somewhere down in that blue, 3 of its oldest hunters have noticed your 50-year-old wooden hull moving across the surface of their world. You're below deck when the morning ends. It's nothing at first. The ordinary sounds of a boat at sea, the creak of the rigging, the slap of water on the hull, the small domestic clatter of a family doing its mourning. You've heard this exact symphony 10,000 times. There is no warning. There is never any warning. Then the world detonates. The first blow hits like the boat has run full speed into a stone wall. Except there is no wall. There's 2.5 miles of open water beneath you. The whole vessel lurches and shudders. Then a second blow. Then a third. 3 colossal deliberate strikes against the hull. Hard enough to throw you off your feet. Hard enough that 50-year-old oak screams in a register you have never heard would make. Up top, Sandy feels it through the wheel, and his small heart leaps to the only conclusion a 12-year-old can reach. He's done something wrong. He's hit something. Dad is going to be furious. He doesn't yet know there's nothing to hit out here. He doesn't yet know that the thing that hit you was alive. But you know, God help you, you know almost before it's finished. You've felt a hull's death before in your years at sea, and your body understands the sound of breaking planking the way it understands its own heartbeat. You go to the source of it and you see the sea coming in. Not a trickle, not a seam weeping, but the ocean itself pouring through shattered planking in the aft cabin and through the head, climbing, rushing with the terrible casual speed of water that has finally found a way in. 3 holes, below the waterline, in a wooden boat 50 years old. And in the half-second your mind takes to do the arithmetic, the answer is already there, total and merciless. She cannot be saved, not pumped, not patched, not beached. There is no land. There is only how many seconds. You give the order. Abandon ship. And Douglas, 18, soaked, disbelieving, turns on you even now, because he's your son and arguing with you is the last reflex to die. Abandon ship? We're not in a marina. We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. As though you might be persuaded, as though saying it could make it not so. It is so. You have less than a minute. And you spend it the way a lifetime of seamanship has trained you to. The life raft, the one you were handed almost as an afterthought back in Miami, goes over the side and you pull the cord and it inflates, fat and yellow and grotesquely cheerful against the grey. You keep your fist locked around the painter of the little dinghy, the Edna Mare, that 9 feet of fiberglass you've towed across an ocean. Lynn is in the water, and the sea nearly takes her right there. Her nightdress catches on the dying boat and drags her down, and your wife, 52 years old, has to fight herself free underwater and claw back up into the air. Sandy goes over, clutching a string bag of red onions, because in the last seconds his mother shoved them into his hands, and a good boy obeys his mother even at the end of the world. And then the 6 of you are off her, and you turn and you watch your home die. Lucette lifts her stern to the grey sky, and she slides down, bow first, into water so deep her wreck will never be seen by human eyes again. The masts go last. That final awful image. The two masts sliding beneath the surface like a drowning man's hands going under. Everything you own, every photograph, every chart, every plan. The farm you sold, converted into oak, converted now into the sea. 60 seconds, maybe less, and the whales are still here. You can see them moving in the swell, dark and vast and unhurried, and the oldest fear in the human animal stands up in your chest. It isn't drowning, it's teeth. It's being eaten. Of all the deaths the ocean offers, you have just been introduced to the one your ancestors feared in the dark. But the whales, having done their inexplicable thing, lose interest. The fins slide away. The swell smooths over the place where your boat was, and the sea goes quiet. That's the part no one can prepare you for. The quiet. The obscene, sunlit, ordinary calm of an ocean that has just eaten your life and feels nothing about it at all. You take stock of what is left of the world. A leaking inflatable raft. A 9-foot dinghy. Your wife coughing up seawater. Your eldest son. Your twin boys. A young man who is somebody else's child. And one kitchen knife. Nobody screams. That's the strange thing. The catastrophe is too large for screaming. There's just the lap of water, and 6 faces, and the slow, dawning, impossible understanding that you are alive, all of you somehow alive, and that being alive out here may turn out to be the cruelest thing the sea could have done. Someone has to speak first. Someone has to turn 6 survivors of a sinking into something that can last. And every face in that raft, without a word, turns and looks at you. So you become the captain of a bathtub. The first thing you do is the hardest thing, which is to make yourself stop feeling and start counting. You go through what you have, item by item, and it is a brutally short list. Water for perhaps 10 days, emergency rations for 3, a tin of biscuits, 10 oranges and 6 lemons, a ½ of glucose sweets, the bag of onions Sandy saved, Lynn's sewing box, needles, thread, 100 small useful things worth more out here than gold. The flare pack, the logbook, and the knife. One knife for everything that is coming. And then the absence that matters most of all. No maps, no compass, no instruments. Nothing to tell you where you are or which way to go, except the sun, the stars, and the 30 years of the sea you carry in your own head. 6 people, 200 miles from the nearest land, which is the Galapagos, behind you to the east, and the wind and the current both run the wrong way for that. For a little while, the adults come apart. It's not cowardice, it's human. Stripped of everything, frightened, the grown-ups start to turn on each other, going back over it. How it happened, whose fault, what we should do, what we should have done. The blame rises like bilge water, and it's stopped, of all people, by your 18-year-old. Douglas, who has argued with you across 2 oceans, looks at the squabbling adults and tells them flatly to shut up, to stop, that none of that matters now. that all that matters is what we do today, and then tomorrow, and the day after that, one day at a time. Your difficult son, in the worst hour of all your lives, says the wisest thing anyone will say. And then there's the pact. It rises because of Robin. He's not blood. He's the outsider, the one who joined in Panama. And somewhere in the unspoken dark of every mind in that raft is the oldest and ugliest arithmetic of the lifeboat. That when the food is gone, the stranger is the one nobody at this table grew up loving. Robin must be able to feel it. So you and your family do the thing that makes you human instead of cargo. You say it out loud, and you promise. No matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, you will not eat one another. You will live together, or you will die together, all six as one. You make a stranger a son with a sentence. And whatever else the sea does to you out here, that promise holds. This is the moment you decide what kind of survival this is going to be. You're a hard man. Your children will tell the world that for the rest of their lives. But hardness alone doesn't keep 6 people alive on an open ocean. You set down a doctrine, the one you'll live by every hour from here on. You can expect good luck and bad luck, you tell yourself. The sea hands those out as it pleases. But good judgment or bad judgment, that part is yours. That's the one thing the ocean can't take from you. The weather isn't your fault. What you do about the weather is entirely your responsibility. And there's the creed underneath the creed. The one that will become the engine of every day out here, even when hope is gone. And there will be hours out here when it's gone. You must never give up trying. Because trying is the thing that brings the hope back. You don't believe that because it's comforting. You believe it because you've buried people and you're still here. And you have learned the hard way that a man's only real choice is whether to keep moving his hands. Lynn becomes the other half of survival. And her half may be the larger one. She is the only one with medical training, so she's the doctor now. And more than that, she makes the children do exercises every day so their muscles won't waste. She prays aloud in a voice that doesn't shake. She gets everyone singing because singing keeps you warm and keeps you human and gives a frightened mind something to do besides count the empty horizon. Where you ration the water, she rations the despair. Between your will and her warmth, the 6 of you have, it turns out, almost exactly the 2 things this catastrophe will demand. That first night is the longest of your life. The sun goes down and the warmth goes with it. And the tropical dark comes down hard and cold over the raft. And the 6 of you press together for heat, with the sea slapping at the rubber inches from your faces. Nobody really sleeps. You lie there in the black, and you listen to your children breathe, Sandy's quick, shallow breaths, the twins curled into their mother, Douglas a tense shape against the night. And you run the arithmetic over and over, the water against the days, the miles against the current. And you keep the fear off your face even though no one can see it in the dark, because that is the job now. You are the one they will look at in the morning to know whether it's all right. So you decide, lying there in the cold, that whatever you feel, your face will say the same thing the moment the light comes. It's all right. We're going to be all right. It is a lie. It is also, you understand, the truest and most useful thing you have left to give them. There is even already a flicker of the gallows humor that will keep you all sane. 6 shipwrecked souls, gravely dividing up an onion as though it were the crown jewels, each translucent ring counted and accounted for. You are, you realize, now the sort of family that holds a solemn ceremony over a vegetable. You'd laugh if your throat weren't already going dry. Because that's the next thing, and it won't wait for grief or planning or pacts. The sun is climbing. Your mouths are already drying. 10 days of water, 6 bodies, and an ocean you cannot drink in every direction. The first enemy out here isn't the whales. It isn't the distance. It's thirst. And it has already started counting down. The first thing you have to do is choose a direction, and it's the worst choice of your life. Look at where you are. 200 miles east of you, behind you, are the Galapagos, real land, solid ground, the last place you stood. Every instinct you have, every instinct any human has, says, go back. Go toward the land you can picture. But you're a master mariner, and you know things the instinct doesn't. You know the wind out here runs against you. You know the current runs against you. You know that rowing and sailing a leaking raft and a 9-foot dinghy 200 miles to windward with 6 starving people and a few days of water is not a plan. It's a slow, certain way to die in sight of a chart line you can never reach. So you do the hardest thing a frightened man can do. You turn your back on the land. You point north. Toward the doldrums, that belt of ocean near the equator, where the air goes still and the rain comes down almost every day. North, where the rain is. North, where the shipping lanes run. You decide to let the wind and the current carry you the way they want to go. 800, 1,000 miles, toward a coast you cannot see, and rain that hasn't fallen yet. And you bet your wife and your 4 boys on it. On rain. On ships, on things that aren't there yet. You can't tell the others how thin the odds are, so you fold the fear up small and you put it somewhere behind your ribs and you say, north. And you mean it like a prayer. Then the work begins, and the work is everything. Water first. Always water. You ration it down to almost nothing, a sip each, once an hour, passed around like a sacrament, and then less than that. You watch your children's lips crack, and you give them a sip, and you do not give yourself one. And you wait for the sky. And then the sky gives. Somewhere in that first week, the clouds pile up and break, and it rains, and you have never in your life felt anything like it. You rig Lynn's canopy and the raft's torn panels into a catchment, and the fresh water runs down into your bottles and your bags, and your open, upturned, laughing mouths. Children who were silent with thirst are suddenly giggling, faces tipped to the sky, and you let yourself, for 1 minute, just one, feel something close to joy. Rainwater? Falling out of the sky, for free, the way it always has, except now you understand what it is. It's life. You will never again, as long as you live, take a glass of water for granted. And you learn the whole liturgy of thirst. You learn to wet your mouth and not swallow, to hold a mouthful and make it last, to read the morning sky for the low grey that promises rain, and the high hard blue that promises another dry, cracking day. You catch the rain in everything you own, bottles, bags, cupped hands, the canopy bellying down heavy with it, and you learn to take the first foul salt run for yourself and save the clean that follows for the children. Water becomes the entire shape of a day, the getting of it, the keeping of it, the dividing of it, the going without. A cupful is a fortune out here. A passing squall is a miracle you'd get down on your knees for if there were room in the boat to kneel. But you can't drink your way home, and the food runs out fast. The biscuits, the sweets, gone in days. The oranges, the lemons, the onions, Sandy saved, eaten down to the rind, the skin, the lot, nothing wasted. Sandy, hollow with hunger, takes to eating his ration and then bringing it back up into his mouth, hours later, to chew it again, anything to make it last. You watch your boy do that, and you turn your face to the sea, and you go to work on the only larder you have left. The ocean. It starts giving, slowly, the way it does everything, on its own terms. A Dorado, a great green gold Dorado, comes up on a line, 40 pounds of it, thrashing silver and rainbow in the bottom of the boat, and for a day you are rich. Flying fish blunder aboard in the dark, drawn to the pail of the raft, and you wake to find breakfast lying on the floorboards, delivered by the sea itself. And then, the turtles. The turtles are a lesson in humility, written in blood. The first one, you swing at with an oar and miss, and it simply swims away, unbothered, leaving you feeling like the amateurs you are. The second, you wrestle aboard, and it thrashes so hard, so powerfully, that you throw it back, rather than have it stove in the boat. But you learn. By the third, you've worked it out, get a line on the flippers, lash it down, still it, and then the knife. Douglas remembers something from a novel he read as a boy, about men adrift drinking turtle blood, and you try it, because out here, you try everything. You pump the warm blood into a jar, and you drink the first mouthful yourself. Someone has to go first, and you pass it round, fast, before it thickens. It is the richest thing you have ever tasted. And you learn the turtle the way you've learned everything out here, with your hands, badly, and then, well. You learn where the knife must go. You learn to work fast in the heat, before the meat turns, to read which parts will dry and keep, and which must be eaten now, this hour, blood and all. Lynn, who has dressed wounds her whole working life, is steady, with the blade, where the rest of you flinch. The boys watch, wide-eyed and a little green, and then they help, because hunger teaches a child not to be squeamish faster than anything on earth. You become, the lot of you, butchers and fishermen and tanners and slow sun stills, rendering oil, drying strips, hanging the boat with curing meat until she looks like some grim floating larder. The farm taught your family how to work. The sea is teaching them how to stay alive on it. They are not, it turns out, such very different lessons. Nothing is wasted. Nothing. The meat you eat raw and cut into strips and dry on lines in the sun, building a little hoard against the days the sea gives nothing. The fat you render in the heat into a golden oil, and that oil becomes everything. A salve for your salt-eaten skin, a warmth in your belly, a medicine. And the eyes, yes, the eyes, you roll them in your mouths like sweets until the membrane dissolves and they pop, salty, and you swallow them too, because a body adrift cannot afford disgust. You become, the six of you, experts in a grim and ancient craft. Connoisseurs of rainwater, scholars of the turtle, a family that once said grace over a roast now gives genuine, desperate thanks for an eyeball. And here is the thing you cling to. It's working. You're doing it. You are pulling life out of an ocean that tried to kill you, hand over hand, day after day, and your family is still breathing. There is a fierce, low, animal pride in that. You set out to teach your children how the world lived. Instead, you are teaching them, and yourself, how a body refuses to die. Then, on the seventh day, the horizon gives you a ship. You see it before you let yourself believe it, a shape, a smudge, hardening into a hull. A freighter. A real, steel, ocean-crossing ship, the Strahd Cook, sliding across the edge of the world, close enough that you can see her lines. And your heart does something violent in your chest, because that ship means everything. That ship means showers and beds, and your children safe, and this whole nightmare over in an afternoon. You fire a flare, a rocket screaming up into the grey, then another. Then your hand flares, burning red in your fist. You spend them, precious as they are, because what is a flare for if not this? You wave. You shout, all of you, 6 ruined voices flung at a ship that cannot possibly hear them. And she sails on. She doesn't slow. She doesn't turn. She doesn't see you, 6 specks in a yellow raft, in 10,000 square miles of ocean, and you watch her stern get smaller and smaller, and then the horizon takes her, and she's gone. And the silence she leaves behind is worse than any silence yet, because now you know a ship can come this close, and a family can be this desperate, and the sea can still, simply, not let you be seen. You have fewer flares now, and the same empty water in every direction, and 800 miles still to go. The raft was never going to last, and now it's proving it. It's a small thing, your inflatable raft, 8 feet by 6, a rubber room for 6 people, and it has been failing since almost the first day. The bellows that should pump it up has broken, so the only way to keep air in it is to blow, by mouth, through a tube, and so that becomes a job, one more brutal job on the rota. You and Douglas and Robin take turns, around the clock, light-headed and starving, breathing your own strength into a bag of rubber to keep it from going soft beneath your family. You bail. You always bail. The sea comes in and you put it back out, hour after hour, and it comes in again. And the water you have is often filthy. The rain you catch off the perished rubber and the salt-crusted canopy comes down fouled, brackish, bitter, undrinkable. You have water you cannot drink, which is its own particular torture, until Lynn the nurse, Lynn the midwife, Lynn, who has spent her life knowing things about the body that the rest of you never had to, proposes the thing that saves you. The gut, she knows, can take in water, the mouth and the stomach will only throw back. So, you take a length of rubber tube cut from the raft's boarding ladder, and you use that foul, salt-fouled water, the only way a failing body will accept it, as an enema. It is undignified, beyond anything you imagined when you dreamed of sailing around the world. Everyone takes it, but Robin. And the aftermath is grotesque and almost funny. In the bleak way, everything is funny now. The next day, as Sandy will put it, you are all covered in filth, disgusting, even by the standards of people who have been eating turtle eyes in a rubber boat for 2 weeks. But it works. The water goes into you sideways, and your bodies hold on a little longer. A nurse from Staffordshire has outthought the ocean with a piece of tube. Then comes the night. You nearly lose everything over a rope. It's rough, the sea heaving in the dark, and the tow line, the line that holds the little dinghy, Edna Mare, behind the raft parts. Just like that, in the black, the dinghy is gone, drifting away into the night. And you understand in an instant what that means. The raft is dying. The dinghy is the lifeboat for the lifeboat. Lose the Edna Mare, and you lose the future. So you do the thing no sane man does. You go into the water. 48 years old, starved, in the dark, in an ocean you have watched sharks patrol for a week. You swim, away from your family, out into the black swell, after a pale shape on the water. You reach her. You drag yourself in, and you bring her back. Your wife and your sons watch a husband and a father disappear into shark-dark water and come back towing salvation behind him. And nobody says very much, because some things are too large for saying. And then, on the 17th day, the raft simply ends. The floor of it, the rotten, overworked, perished floor, gives way. It doesn't tear politely. The bottom virtually disappears beneath you, and the sea is suddenly right there, and the rubber room that has been your home for 2.5 weeks is finished. There is only one place left to go. The Edna Mare. 9 feet of fiberglass. A dinghy built for paddling around a harbor for a child's afternoon. And now, the whole of your remaining life, 6 people, must fit into it and stay there. You salvage what you can from the dying raft, the canopy, the flotation, anything, and you pack 6 human beings into 9 feet of boat, and you learn the geometry of hell. There are about 4 inches of freeboard, 4 inches between the gunwale and the sea, so the smallest wrong shift, the smallest wave, can put you all under. You assign seats, like some terrible parody of a dinner table, each person fixed in place to keep the boat trim, and you take turns, at the one dry spot on the center thwart, while everyone else sits in the bilge. And the bilge is a horror. There is no way to relieve yourself over the side without risking the boat, so you don't. You go where you sit, all of you, and it all mixes together in the few inches of water sloshing around your legs, seawater and waste and turtle blood and fish guts, a foul, warm soup you are marinating in day and night. There is no privacy out here, and no dignity, and no dry place, and no rest. You sit in your assigned inch of the boat, hour upon hour, hip to hip, the sun hammering down from above, and the filth sloshing below, and you cannot stand, cannot stretch your legs, cannot turn away from anyone or anything. The boredom and the discomfort braid together into one long, grinding misery, with no edges and no end. And the strangest thing, and it is a strange thing, sitting here in it, is that even this you get used to. The human animal can grow accustomed to almost anything, it turns out, if the only alternative is to die, and you have all decided, without ever voting on it, that you are not going to die. So you sit in the squalor, and you bail, and you endure, and you discover something you'd never have believed on dry land. That endurance itself, after a while, becomes a kind of terrible home. That soup eats your skin. Salt water boils bloom on every body, open and raw, and the salt finds each one, so that the simplest movement is agony. Your clothes are rotting off you, so the sun takes the skin, the boils don't. You are 6 people slowly coming apart, sitting in your own filth in a child's boat, in the middle of the largest ocean on Earth. And yet, you're still here. The boat is tiny and vile and 4 inches from disaster, but she's hard, and she's yours, and she doesn't leak the way the raft did. The Edna mare sits low and stubborn in the water, and she keeps the sea out, and you begin, without quite admitting it, to trust her. The boat nobody looked at twice. She's all you have now, and the days keep coming. Nobody tells you that the hardest part of survival is the boredom. The catastrophe was a single minute. The terror of the whales, the sinking that was fast, almost merciful in its speed. But this is the long middle, and the long middle is made of days that are all the same. The same grey swell. The same merciless sun, climbing and falling. The same 6 faces. The same horizon, perfectly, maddeningly empty in every direction you turn your head. You start to mark the days, scratching them off somewhere in your mind, because counting is a way of refusing to drift, of insisting that time is still passing, and that you are still a person inside it. The days are an ordeal of sun, and the nights are an ordeal of cold, and in between there is only the boat and the bodies in it. By day the sun stands over you like a raised hammer, and there is no shade worth the name, and your skin, what's left of it under the boils and the salt, bakes and splits. Then the sun goes down and the warmth pours out of the whole world at once, and you shiver in your wet rags, packed together, taking your turn at the driest few inches, listening to the sea working patiently at the hull. You sleep in pieces, an hour here, a few minutes there, never deep, always half listening to the sea move against the hull. And in the grey hour before the light, when the cold is worst and hope is thinnest, you have learned simply to wait. To sit inside the misery without fighting it, because the dawn always comes, and the same sun that will torment you by noon is, in that first cold grey, the most welcome thing in all the world. The squall will pass. You tell yourself the way the heat passed and the dark before it. Everything out here passes if you can only outlast it. You keep the rituals because the rituals keep you. Lynn has the children doing exercises in their cramped seats so their muscles don't waste away to nothing. She leads the singing, thin, cracked voices over an enormous sea, and she prays out loud, steady, and you are not a religious man, but you would not stop her for the world, because her voice is a kind of keel. You keep your dead reckoning, judging your drift by the sun and the swell, and 30 years of instinct, nudging the little boat north, always north, toward the rain and the lanes. And you bail. Always, forever, you bail. And the sea sends company you'd rather not have. A shark takes up with you, a white-tipped shark. And here is the detail you'll never quite make anyone believe. It is longer than your boat. A creature bigger than the vessel, holding your entire family, circles you for days, patient, unhurried, feeding on the scraps of turtle and fish you put over the side. Its fin cutting the water a few feet from your children's hands. You learn to live alongside it. That's the thing about out here. You learn to live alongside almost anything, because the alternative is to stop, and you will not stop. The storms are worse than the shark. When the weather comes up, those 20-foot seas rise around a boat with 4 inches of freeboard, and every single wave is a decision the ocean makes about whether your family lives. You bail like the bailing is breathing. You trim the weight. You keep her bow right. And the same storms that try to drown you are the storms that fill your water bags. So you curse the rain, and you bless it in the same breath, your face turned up to swallow what's trying to kill you. The sea gives, and the sea takes, and out here, you stop pretending those are two different things. You even win sometimes. You land a mako shark, 5 feet of it, and it is a feast and a victory both, and you keep its teeth, small white trophies, because a man needs to keep score somehow. You've learned the sea's grim curriculum by heart now. The turtle's liver will kill you, but the shark's you can eat. Knowledge bought in blood, every lesson of it, and you have become, against all odds, good at this. But here is the thing that saves you, and it isn't the seamanship, and it isn't the turtles. It's the joy you refuse to surrender. Because in the middle of all this, the boils, the thirst, the shark, the endless grey, your family decides to be happy on purpose. You invent a restaurant, a cafe, and you name it, of all things, Dougal's, after you, and you take turns being the customer, ordering off a menu that exists only in the air. Sandy, 12 years old, starving, sun-blistered, sitting in a soup of filth in a 9-foot boat, closes his eyes and orders steak and egg and chips and a can of Coca-Cola. And you all savor it. You taste the impossible meal together, 6 of you, and for a few minutes, the dinghy is a restaurant, and you are a family out to dinner, and the laughter is real, even though the food is not. And then there's the birthday. It's the 4th of July, and it's Lynn's birthday, your wife, 52 years old, the quiet center of all of it, and you are not going to let the ocean take that from her too. So you have a feast. By the standards of the world you left, it is nothing. Fresh turtle meat, and strips of dried turtle, and dried dorado, and water to drink. By the standards of this boat, it is a banquet, laid out with real ceremony on the worst day of a good life, and you sing to her over the swell. I and your children give their mother the only gift they have, which is that they are still alive to wish her many happy returns. You play I Spy, too, in a place where there is almost nothing to spy, see, sky, sail, the back of your own sunburnt hand. The game is a joke, and the joke is the point. You are teaching your children, without ever saying it, the most important thing you know, that you do not wait for the storm to pass to be a family. You are a family in the storm. That is the whole of it. If a story like this has ever kept you company in the dark, if a quiet voice at the end of a hard day has ever made you feel a little less alone, then do what this family did and share the company. Send your favorite episode to a friend who could use it tonight. Someone out there is lying awake, marking their own long middle. You might be the small, kind thing that helps them through it. Now, back to the boat. A body can only refuse to die for so long. You have been adrift for more than a month now, and the arithmetic is catching up with all of you. The food keeps you alive, but it doesn't keep you whole. The body, starved of what it needs, begins to eat itself, and you watch it happen to the people you love most in the world. The twins are very thin now, too thin. The soft roundness of childhood burned away to something that frightens you. Neil is gaunt, hollowed, a small boy turning into an outline of himself. And Sandy has developed a cough, deep and wet and wrong, the kind of cough a father's ear recognizes with dread. A 12-year-old, somewhere out on the open Pacific, his small lungs filling, and no doctor for 1,000 miles, and nothing you can do but hold him and keep him warm and keep going. This is the cruelty of the long ordeal. The whales were quick. This is slow. This is watching, helpless, as the sea tries to take your children, not in one violent minute, but inch by inch, day by day, cough by cough. You can see it happening to them. The flesh goes first, the cheeks hollowing, the ribs rising under the skin, your small sons turning slowly into the bodies of old men. And then the spirit begins to flicker. There are days now when one of the boys simply goes quiet and stares at nothing and cannot be reached. And that frightens you more than the thinness ever could, because you know what it is. It is the body beginning to agree to die. So you and Lynn fight it the only way you have left. You make them move. You make them talk. You make them swallow the foul scraps and play the games even when no one wants to, and you drag them back from the grey edge of it by sheer refusal, again and again. Love out here is not a soft thing. Love is making your dying child sit up and eat. Some nights it feels like the cruelest thing you have ever done, and it is the most tender, and out here, those have stopped being opposites. Lynn holds Sandy through the worst of it, and she says a thing to him in the dark that you will carry for the rest of your life. She tells your dying son that if it comes to it, if he goes, she will go into the water with him. That she will not let him make that crossing alone. That wherever he is going, his mother is going too. It is the most terrible promise you have ever heard, and the most loving, and you do not stop her, because you understand it completely. There is a love that will follow you into the sea. Your children are wrapped in it. It is the warmest thing on this cold and enormous ocean, and it is the only thing the whales could never touch. And still, you do not stop. Because stopping is the one death you can actually choose, and you refuse to choose it. You bail. You catch what you can. You nurse the oil onto the boy's boils. You keep the bow north. Your hands keep moving because you decided on the very first day that even when hope is gone, and there are hours now when it is gone, when you look at Sandy and the math says, no, even then, you do not give up trying. Because trying is the rope you've thrown across the dark, and you have learned the hard way, across a whole hard life, that sometimes the hope comes back, hand over hand, along that rope, if you'll only keep hold of your end. Even now, this far down, the sea will not stop testing you. You hook a turtle, food, life, more days for your children, and as you haul the great thrashing weight of it up over 4 inches of freeboard, the dinghy heels, and the sea comes to the lip, and for one heart-stopping instant, the whole boat, the whole family, everything tips toward the edge of going over. After everything, after more than a month, you could lose it all, here, now, to a turtle and a careless inch. You throw your weight back. You fight the boat level. You get the turtle aboard and you sit there shaking, your heart slamming, holding your starving family on the right side of the waterline by nothing but instinct and refusal. Night comes down. Another night. The stars come out, enormous and indifferent and beautiful, the way they have every night out here, and the cold settles in, and Sandy coughs against your wife's chest, and the little boat rocks on the black water with its cargo of ruined, stubborn, living people. You bail. You hold your son. You keep your hands moving, because moving your hands is the only prayer you have left. It is the 38th day, and you are planning how to row. That's where your mind is. Not on rescue. You've stopped letting yourself stand too close to that word. You're being practical, the way you've been practical since the first minute. working out a rota for rowing the dinghy, the last stretch toward the coast. Because the wind has gone light, and a man does what a man can do. And the children, because they are children even now, even hollowed and sore and salt-burned, are playing I Spy. Small voices naming the only things there are to name. The sea, the sky, the sail. And then one of them sees something that isn't on the list. A shape, out there, on the rim of the world. You look, and your old sailor's eye refuses, at first, to tell you what it's telling you, because it has lied to you before, back on the 7th day, a lifetime ago, when a ship came and looked straight through you and left. So you do not let your heart move. Not yet. You watch the shape harden and darken and become, impossibly, undeniably, a hull. A fishing boat. A Japanese tuna trawler, low and working and real, crossing the empty ocean a few miles off, heading for the same canal you sailed through a lifetime ago. A ship. An actual ship. And you know, with a cold and terrible clarity, exactly how this can go. You know it can come this close and never see you. You have watched it happen. You have 6 ruined people and almost nothing left, and you will get one chance, maybe, to make a speck on the ocean turn into a thing a watchman notices. So, you reach for a flare. One of the few you have left, hoarded across all these weeks for exactly this. And you fire it, and the red light climbs and blooms against the pale early sky. And then you do the thing that a father does. You hold it. You hold the burning flare up high, higher, your whole arm shaking with it, and the flame burns down the stick toward your fingers, and you do not let go. It burns your fingertips. You can smell it. You can feel your own skin, and still you hold it, because this is the one. This is the one that has to be seen. You would hold a star in your bare hand right now if it would make that ship turn. And on the deck of the Tokamaru, a watchman looks up. He sees a red arc of light where there should be nothing but ocean. And the trawler's engine note changes. And she begins, slowly, enormously, to turn. And then her horn sounds, a long, low, blaring note rolling out across the water, and it is the most beautiful sound you have heard in 38 days. More beautiful than the rain, because that sound means a human being out there has seen you. After all the empty horizons, after the ship that didn't stop, after 200 miles of nobody, somebody has finally looked your way. The horn sounds, and the boat turns, and your family understands all at once what is happening, and you who have not let yourself feel anything you couldn't afford for 38 days, you feel the thing break open in your chest. She's coming. She sees you. She's coming for you. You hold your burned hand against your body, and you watch the trawler come, and you do not have words. You're not sure you have a voice left at all. You just watch her come, growing against the morning, and you let yourself believe, for the first time since the morning the whales came, that your family is going to live. Up close, the trawler is enormous, a wall of steel rising over your 9-foot boat, and the faces looking down at you over the rail are something you'll never forget. They are Japanese fishermen, far from their own homes, and they look down into the Edna Mare, and they cannot believe what they're seeing. 6 human beings, skeletal, black with sun, covered in open saltwater boils, half naked in the rags their clothes have become, sitting in a child's dinghy in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of miles from anywhere a person has any business being. The crew's faces go slack with disbelief. And then they move, fast, the way good people move when another person needs them. They get you aboard. And here is the cruelty hidden inside the rescue, the thing nobody warns you about. Your bodies have forgotten how to be saved. When your son Sandy is helped up onto the solid steel deck and tries to stand, just to stand, on a surface that doesn't move, his legs fold beneath him and he goes down. 38 days folded into 4 feet of space have wasted the muscle off his legs. A 12-year-old has to relearn how to stand on dry footing. And when the crew, in their kindness, bring food, real food, warm food, his starved body can't take it, and it comes back up again and again, his stomach refusing the very thing that will save it. And you who gave the order to abandon ship, who chose the heading, who held the family together with rules and will across 38 days, when you finally try to thank these men, you find you can't. Your tongue is so swollen with thirst. All of your tongues are so swollen that you can barely form the words. The captain of your family, struck dumb at the moment of salvation, able only to look at the men who saved your children and try to say, with your eyes, the thing your mouth can't. They understand. Of course they understand. They wash you, and they feed you slowly, carefully, and they tend your wounds, and they are gentle with you in a way that undoes something in you that all the hardship couldn't. The sea spent 38 days trying to prove to you how cruel the world can be. And in the end, you are saved by the plain, enormous kindness of strangers who simply could not leave 6 people to die. There is one more thing you ask of them. As the crew prepare to take you aboard for good and leave the dinghy to the sea, you stop them. You point to the Edna Mare, that humble, ugly, 9-foot scrap of fiberglass that everyone overlooked, the boat that held your whole family when the raft died, that took the waves on her hard little hull and would not let the ocean have you. You ask them to bring her too. And these kind men haul your battered dinghy up out of the water and onto the deck, and she comes home with you. The least impressive thing on the whole voyage. The one that brought you back. And then it's over. It is, after 38 days, simply over. You are on a ship, with a deck under you and a roof over you and food in your children's mouths, steaming toward Panama, toward land, toward the rest of your lives. Your family is alive. All of them. The whole impossible 6. I want to stop here with you for a moment, in this quiet after, because this is the kind of moment our nights are made of. So let me ask you something, and I'll go first, the way you always should. As the first tell you this, it's late where I am, and there's rain on the window, and one small lamp burning, and the whole house asleep around me. That's where this story finds me. Now the first, love to know where it finds you. Tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening from tonight, and what hour has this story kept you company into? Leave your town and your time, and in the morning you can read all the other quiet souls who were awake, out there in the dark, alongside you. You were never as alone as it felt. Now, let's bring this family home. The trawler carries you north, toward Panama, and you begin the strange work of becoming a person again. It takes days for the world to feel solid. After 38 days of constant motion, the steel deck beneath you seems to pitch and roll, even when the sea is calm. Your body has learned the ocean so completely that it can't unlearn it, and you stagger like a drunk man on a deck that isn't moving at all. You eat a little at a time, because more than a little is more than your shrunken stomach can bear. The boils begin, slowly, to heal. The swelling leaves your tongues, and your voices come back, and you can finally say to these kind fishermen the thank you couldn't manage at the rail. When the trawler reaches Panama, the world is waiting for you, and it has cameras. Because it turns out you're a story now. A family that was sunk by killer whales and lived, that survived 38 days on an open ocean in a 9-foot boat, is the kind of thing the newspapers cross the world for. There are flashbulbs and questions, and strangers who want to touch your sleeve, and it is all so loud and so bright after the enormous grey silence of the sea that you hardly know what to do with it. You are sunburned and skeletal and alive, blinking in the light, holding your wife's hand, counting your children one more time, the way you've counted them 1,000 times since the 15th of June. 6. Still 6. Still all here. And then you go home. Not on a schooner this time. Those days are over. But as passengers on a merchant ship called the Port Auckland, carried back across the same ocean that nearly kept you, toward England, toward the green hills you left, toward the one piece of your family that wasn't in the boat. Because Anne is waiting. Your eldest, the daughter who fell in love and stepped off the voyage back in the bright islands, who never saw the whales, who has spent these weeks not knowing whether her family was alive or dead somewhere on the Pacific. Anne is there when you come home. And you cannot imagine what that reunion holds. The relief of it, the guilt and the gladness all tangled together. A daughter who got to keep her ordinary life, embracing a family that went to the edge of the world and barely came back. The 6 who survived, and the one who was spared, all under one roof again, and nobody quite has the words. Robin goes home too, back to Wales, back to his own mother, who waved a hitchhiking boy off on an adventure and gets back a young man who drank turtle blood and swore a pact never to be eaten and watched a family refuse to die. He was a stranger when he stepped aboard in Panama. He is something else now. You don't have a word for what a person becomes after they've shared that. Family isn't quite it. It's bigger and stranger than that. You set out, all those months ago, to give your children the University of Life, to show them how other people, in other places, lived. And the sea, in its terrible way, gave them a final lesson no school on earth could have set. It showed them exactly what they were made of, and exactly what their mother and father were made of, and exactly how far love will go before it lets you sink. They will carry that for the rest of their lives. So will you. There's a question that follows a thing like this, quietly, for the rest of your days. What was it all for? You sold a farm for a dream, and the dream lasted 18 months, and then a pod of whales took it to the bottom of the Pacific in 60 seconds. You could call that a tragedy. Plenty of people would. But you were there, in the boat, for all 38 days, and you know something they don't. You know what your family became out on that water. You know that your hard, argumentative, beloved eldest son became a man who told the panicking adults to be quiet and take it one day at a time. You know that your wife outfought the ocean with a sewing box and a piece of tube and a faith that never once cracked. You know that 2 small boys kept a pretend cafe running while they starved, and that nobody, in 38 days, ever broke the promise made on the first one. In the years that come, you'll write it all down. The logbook you kept out there, the discipline of it, the daily insistence that the story was still going, becomes a book, and the book becomes the kind of thing people press into a friend's hands and say, "You have to read this." You'll keep sailing because the sea took your boat, but it never took the thing in you that loved her. And one day, long from now, your son Douglas, the boy who argued with you across 2 oceans, will sit down and write his own account of these days to make sure the whole family gets its due. And in those pages, the 2 of you will finally, in a way, say all the things a father and a son in a small boat never could. The twins will grow up. They'll have children of their own, and those children will have children. And somewhere, a grandfather will tell a wide-eyed boy about the time the whales came and the family that wouldn't die, and the boy won't quite believe it, the way you wouldn't have believed it once on a green hill in Staffordshire. And the Edna Mare, the little dinghy nobody looked at twice, 9 feet of fiberglass, that took your whole family on her hard little back when the sea wanted all of you. The Edna Mare is still here. To this day, she sits in a museum in Cornwall, not far from where you first set sail, and children press their faces to the glass and try to imagine 6 people in a boat that small, on an ocean that big, for that long. The least impressive thing on the whole voyage. The one that's still here, telling the truth of it, long after the schooner and the storms are gone. You went looking for the world, and the world nearly drowned you. But you brought your family home. Not with one great heroic act. There was no single moment of rescue you can point to and say, "There, that's the one that saved us." You brought them home the way you do everything that matters, with 10,000 small and stubborn things. One more sip of water. One more turtle. One more bale of the bilge. One more breath into the failing raft. One more night one more dawn, one more refusal to let go of the rope. That's all survival ever is. Not a miracle. 1,000 small choices to keep going, made by people who love each other on an ocean that doesn't care either way. And on a quiet night, years from now, when someone asks you whether you'd do it all again, knowing the whales, knowing the thirst, knowing the 38 days, you'll think of your children, grown and safe, and here, and you'll find you don't quite have an answer. Some things are too large for yes or no. You only know that you went out into the deep as a family, and you came back as one. And that the sea, which took so much, gave that back. Since you made it this far, I'm glad you enjoyed the episode. If you would like to continue listening to episodes with similar themes, I linked them in the description below. You will also find a playlist of our most popular videos. Sleep now, nightlings. And wake up, as always, a little stronger and a little wiser. The story is done, but yours continues.